What's up? What's up? Welcome to Talking to Myself, capital S. This is where I drop into my intuition and I'm having a conversation with my soul, my higher self, and I'm sharing the insights that I get with you. So I caught myself earlier today overthinking about some things that I already know I don't want in my life anymore. And one of it is a client that's no longer a fit. The other one is somebody that I was once interested in exploring a relationship with, but it just doesn't feel the same anymore. I got to see like in ways that I was settling. And what I heard, what I received was the overthinking is to highlight where you don't make a decision. Because if you made a decision, you don't have to think further on it. You're just very clear on what's a no for you and what's a yes, and you just move in that direction. But if you catch yourself kind of arguing for why you don't want the thing to happen, like I kept arguing with myself as to how am I going to explain my decision to the person that I was once interested in and I'm no longer interested in? How is that conversation going to go? And although it happened naturally, like we've already drifted apart, they've appeared from time to time. When things reappear from the past, it's an echo. And the echo is to see, are you clear with the decision that you made? Or are you going to double back? I've been clear on it. But again, that overthinking of the topic goes to show that I'm still entertaining the other choice. And the other choice being of how would it be if I were to not say no? How would it be if I were to explore the option now that they've come back around? That's what the overthinking is highlighting, because once you make a decision and you're very clear on what it is that you want, you can return back to the present moment. You don't have to be lost in thought anymore. So being lost in thought means that there's this sense of trying to predict. There's this sense of trying to see what would happen. Well, afraid of making the wrong choice. Whereas if you just make a decision, knowing what's good for you in this moment, what feels right for you, what is resonating with your current frequency, your current vibration, right? The person that you have currently evolved into. You have absolute free will to exercise that choice and follow through with that decision. And what happens as a result, this new elevated version of you is now going to make a new decision in response to that. And that starts to take you down the timeline that you have now stepped into. But you have to be present for the choices that are laid out before you so you can make those decisions. Because if you're overthinking to try to prevent some sort of pain, some sort of experience that happened within the past. And in being caught up in that in-between, right, the liminal space, when you're in that in-between, that void, that's where that sense of confusion comes into play. That's where you start to question yourself. There's that stress, that worry, that fear, that doubt, that anxiety. And it's trying to find the safest route. But the safety that you're looking for is you. And that safety of trusting and knowing you're going to make the right decision for you, because there's no right or wrong. But you have to be clear as to what the right decision for you feels like. Because in the overthinking, what's clouding it is it doesn't feel good to keep talking about the decisions you don't want to make. When you get caught up in talking about the decisions you don't want to make, if you notice, those are kind of the loops that get you stuck, like spinning your tires, and you feel exhausted just from your energy being spread out so thin, because life is unfolding before you, but you're also in your head about the topics at hand that matter to you. And it's tough to fully maximize life, to fully be present here in life, right? As a kid, you were very sure as to what was a good fit for you or not, right? And yeah, life was a lot simpler. It's like, what's the food that you like, or what color crayon you want to color with. But it was that certainty that allowed you to remain present. And throughout time, we started to question ourselves because we started to take everybody else into consideration. That discomfort that comes with overthinking is to get you to be clear about those other people can't feel what you're feeling. So whatever you feel, right? When you notice that you say something feels right to you, those moments that nobody could talk you out of it, that's that knowing. And what gets in the way of that knowing is when you try to explain it to other people. It's kind of why I started to go down this path of changing the name of this to talking to myself, because that's essentially what I'm doing. I'm talking to myself and you're dropping in on the conversation, and there might be things that resonate with you. And if they don't, cool, it might be on another part of the video or another video. But if you're drawn to this video, most likely there's stuff that's already been clicking into place for you. And that's what's happening when you tune into how you feel. You're having a conversation with you, and you're given the choice of, are you going to trust that? Because that's what's going to allow you to be faced with certain things and make the decision of, this is what's for me. And not having to second guess it, because you can trust in how you feel. Like if you're talking to somebody and you feel like you're settling and it's not going to be a good fit, chances are it's not going to be a good fit. I can recall on times that I have settled in a relationship and I tried to highlight the best qualities of the person, and I was able to do so because that feeling of love in a romantic relationship allows you, the rose-colored glasses, it allows you to amplify the best qualities in somebody because it feels so good. But what you're doing is you're utilizing that person almost like a tool to amplify the love that you have within you, right? You're using them as the excuse to feel the love that's already there. So you can do that with anybody. But the times that you've caught yourself settling going into a relationship, it's never worked out. There's always been a breaking point where it falls away. At least that's what the experience has been like for me. It will start off all beautiful and amazing. It will get to this point of all the things that I overlooked come to the surface. And I knew it was the inevitable, right? Having these conversations with myself, like I would hear that from myself, and I would try to give the benefit of the doubt. I would try to be loving and choose love more and more. But I got to see I was withholding love from myself because I'm not allowing myself to experience what I truly want. And in doing so, what ends up happening is you start to inspire lack in those around you because you're not truly getting what you know you truly want in this life experience. You think you just have to make do with what you have. And for me, that was what I grew up with, right? As I grew up in the Bronx, it was like, okay, like, this is the food we have. And we had great food, but it was a lot of the same stuff. It's like, make the most of it. And all these things where it's like, you have to maximize your life experience. And yes, if those are your circumstances, by all means, maximize what you have. Be appreciative of what you have, but don't be afraid to ask for more. And I noticed when I would ask for more or have the desire for more, if it lined up with the time that a family member of mine or my parents would be like in like a dip in their mood, it will poke at the insecurity of them not being able to provide that for me. And then that will come across through like a remark of, you're being ungrateful. You should be grateful for what you have. And that made me feel bad and question, is it a bad thing that I'm asking for more? It's never a bad thing. If you ask for more, you make the decision that you're set on truly experiencing what you're wanting and not settling for less, then you now move in that direction. but it's going to cause you to say no to things that are not a match and let go of things that are not a match. And I'm going to do another video on what makes that easier. People refer to it as detachment, but it's actually non-attachment. So I'll talk about that in the next clip, the next video. But you get to see when you make a decision, you start moving down this timeline to where you have to be present with that timeline to see the choices because it's all brand new. And when you're overthinking, you're comparing the new to the old in fear of experiencing the pain that you once experienced. It's not going to be the same. It's a whole different timeline. But you have to have that trust within you that you're listening intentionally and clearly enough, and you're willing to love yourself enough to listen and follow through with the guidance that you're giving yourself. For now, just see the things that you're overthinking about, write it out, and just notice if it's really tied to a clear decision, or what it is more often than not is you're kind of bouncing back and forth between the decision you really want to make, but then you're arguing as to why you made that decision, why you have to make that decision. You're trying to justify the decision that you made. Or you're also bouncing back and forth between the decision that you made and then what would happen in this timeline. And when you're in that in-between, that's what slows everything down, because life is this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment. Like every moment is brand new. There's no tomorrow. You blink, open your eyes, and then it's tomorrow. Same thing with New Year's. When the ball drops, it's just this moment, this moment, this moment, and the ball drops. As far as the calendar, Wednesday, 7 p.m., like that's just so we can meet up at a certain point. It doesn't really exist. It's just this moment. So life is loading in real time. When you feel stuck, you're slowing it down because you were making decisions and then you started to question yourself. You're like, wait, there's this one, but then, and you see like that is so uncomfortable because energetically now you're spread thin and now you're exhausted. Now you're not really sure. Now it's take the pause. Take the pause and just write what you're overthinking about and just see what space is it in. Don't try to define it for anything. Just what space is it in? Is it in a clear space of this is the choice I made? And if it is, why are you thinking about it still? And if it's because it hasn't happened, what is that tied to? You see, like now you start to hear what's the purpose of the overthinking. And if you kind of catch it in that in-between, then what choice do you want to make? If you just take everybody out of the equation, what do you want truly? And I'm just going to leave that there because I feel like that in itself, I mean, when I went through that process myself, it made me cry like pretty heavily. And I'm going to do another video about that. So I wanted to drop this in. I'm going to make these way more consistent. I have a lot to say. I spent a lot of time in hermit with myself, and I got a lot to share with you guys. So I'm wishing you an amazing day. If it's nighttime by you, I'm wishing you an amazing night, and I will catch you later.